Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Tonight I finally get a chance to give you a review of the new War for Cybertron Siege Optimus Prime. It's Voyager class, number 11 in the series. Took me a lot longer to get my hands on this guy than it did Megatron, just out of pure bad luck, but I finally have him, so finally give you all a look at one of the best G1 Optimus Prime toys ever made. For returning viewers, you know the MO. We'll go ahead and take a look at his box, instructions, then break down the figure itself, see it in all of its modes, and then lastly give some thoughts on the toy so you can decide whether or not this guy is worth owning. And spoiler alert, it is. Alright, so his box is nothing new, nothing we haven't seen before now. Typical logos, the name Optimus Prime. He's, like I said, War for Cybertron Siege number 11. Got his art on the side here, which, I don't know, I mean, it's nothing wrong with it. I don't find it quite as exciting as some of the other art pieces I've seen, but oh well. Standard Siege artwork here on the other side, and then we get Optimus in his robot and truck modes. Shows that he takes 27 steps to transform, which is pretty high, and something I'm really happy about. His transformation, as you're going to see, is complex but not frustrating. It's very well executed, but we'll get into that. Here it shows off his interactivity with the Battle Masters. And then lastly, top and bottom, nothing special. The instructions are nice and big, just like Megatron's. Good render of Optimus on the front here. Here we've got his transformation from robot to vehicle mode, along with some weapon storage stuff. Over here shows off how his axe can turn into a shield or be mounted on top of his ion blaster there. Interactivity with the Micromasters and Battle Masters. Breakdown of his weapons here. You have the W50 Dual Mech Energon Strike Shield. That's his axe / shield there. And then the WM3 RF Ion Blaster, which, as you probably know, is Optimus Prime's signature weapon. And, you know, some artistic license taken with it this time around, but it's pretty recognizable for what it is. Alright, Optimus's vehicle mode is a Cybertronian take of his classic cab-over-engine semi-truck. You can see the classic inspiration, as well as more alien elements. Obviously, these giant roof headlight things going on here. It's got like a clear grill, kind of some odd, I guess, other headlights next to the grill. And then these look like some kind of like machine gun barrels or something on the front. So a bit of a departure, you know. Everything else about him is pretty standard G1 Optimus Prime aesthetic. You know, pretty much everything but the front of the truck looks exactly like the classic Optimus Prime truck. Smokestacks are pretty short, but honestly that's just to be expected nowadays. You can see he's got his ion blaster mounted on the roof, which is how the instructions tell you to store it, though really it can be plugged anywhere. There's a 5mm hole, which he's got a lot of them. His shield stores very neatly on the back of the cab here in what is actually the trailer hitch. Now don't get excited, this toy does not come with a trailer, nor does it seem to be compatible with any G1 Optimus Prime trailers, or I guess any Optimus Prime trailers. Power of the Primes doesn't work, the classic one doesn't work, Masterpiece doesn't work. So unfortunately, he won't be towing any trailers anytime soon. But take that off so you can see the truck without it there. But yeah, I really like this truck mode. It has a lot of detail on it. I like this bit over here. The front with all this translucent blue looks really nice. You can see some of his battle damage paint apps here. And over here is where they really shine. Kibble underneath is not bad at all. Really the only robot bits you can make out are the thighs. So pretty clean underneath. Now, a lot of people, a lot of the fans on the internet really seem to dislike this vehicle mode for him. Mainly citing these giant roof-mounted headlights as just like their deal breaker. I'm not sure where all the hate comes from. I think it's people wanting this to be their definitive Generation 1 Optimus Prime and kind of wishing it was something it wasn't. Because to me, these don't look bad. You know, if you're trying to, in your mind, make this thing the original Generation 1 cab, then yeah, sure, it looks really goofy having them on the top like that. But, you know, being what it is, it looks just fine to me. It looks like a perfect blending of an Earth-produced truck and a Cybertron-produced vehicle. But that's my opinion. Obviously, others are going to feel differently. I don't think it's as bad as some are making it out to be. I don't really have any issue. I think it comes out looking just fine. The truck itself rolls pretty well, though the wheels on the back there do seem to have some trouble catching the surface sometimes and rolling. Not sure what's really getting in their way. Might just be kind of a small alignment issue. But it works. Not really any dragging going on, which is always my main concern. Now, one thing that's not documented in the instructions, but it was revealed by the design team themselves, is that this truck actually has an optional hover mode. And it's simple. And the way you achieve it is you fold his front wheels down. And they lock onto this little tab here. Just make sure they're in there real good. Nice and straight, like that. And then his rear wheels do the same thing. Just untab, swing them down, and they just kind of rest together. And there's that. It's kind of silly looking. I don't think you're going to see too many people displaying their toy like this. But it's workable, and it does call back to the optional hover mode that the old War for Cybertron Megatron had. Not the one from this toy line, the one based on the War for Cybertron video game. His tank treads could flip down underneath and give him a sort of hover mode just like this. So, take it or leave it. It doesn't mess with the toy, you know, make it worse in any way. It's not intrusive, so I don't have an issue with it. Now, one thing I want to point out before I transform this guy. If you look at his roof, you can see that this front part of the roof is a separate piece from the back part. However, the way they're built, they don't separate at all. They're built permanently locked together. And one thing I suspect that would be the reason for them doing this is this toy is so close to being a dead ringer for an update to the original Optimus toy, aside from some of these alien details on the front. And I think the design team know this. I think they know that this toy is going to replace the old, 2006 Classics Optimus as everyone's like go-to G1 Optimus Prime toy. You know, what they call their Chug Optimus, right? And I think they created this way to where it would be very easy to just mold a new piece to go here and, you know, front sections to convert this purely into a classic Optimus Prime with an Earth-based truck mode. If they don't already have the tooling, it might already be in the mold, and they just, you know, they're alternate parts, and they just kind of scrap the ones they're not using right now, kind of like alternate heads. I don't know, but it seems like a really good possibility. I mean, all you would really need to change are like these pieces, this bit, and these like front panels here. That would be it. Like, everything else I think would be dead on. So I guess time will tell. Maybe I'm right, maybe I'm wrong. Alright, time to transform this guy. If you haven't already done so, obviously remove the weapons, right? Then we're going to start by pulling these panels off both sides. Just kind of swinging them back like that for now. Gonna untab these and then open these windows. One thing you'll see in here, they have this little bit of sculpting detail that's supposed to emulate the Matrix. Now, unfortunately, this is the closest thing you get to a Matrix that comes with this toy. This part does not show in his robot mode, and you'll see that his robot mode chest is actually just empty because it's where the head goes. So don't get your hopes up on having a nice new Matrix. This guy does not have one. Anyway, these panels, attach them a little bit. Swing this up, swing this whole bit up. This is that point you can see that these two bits of plastic connect and lock into place there. So, yeah. All right, swing the grill in, swing these panels in, they all lock into place, and swing that all the way in. Voila. Optimus Prime head, you can go ahead and swing that all the way up. See, empty chest. Close the windows. All right, now this panel swings down. Same on this side. All right, now you can pull his arms out. Just kind of lug them out, straighten the shoulders, like so. These wheels, you want to bring up, fold them, and push them all the way into his side, right there. Just like that, nice and flat. The arms, you'll swing these machine gun bits, wherever they are, inward. It doesn't work if you swing them that way. You swing them in, and they'll tab in and lock into place. And you swing these side panels down till they tab in. Do that here. All right. Almost done already. All right. This pelvis, you're going to swing forward until it connects to its front half there. All right. Then separate his calves. This trailer hitch part, you just fold in to become his kneecaps. Now, one word of warning when transforming this guy back to his truck mode, the instructions will have you connect his legs and then try to flip these panels. And this one will go pretty easily, this side. On this side, though, there's not a whole lot of like purchase space for you to like get your nails or anything into when these are connected. So I would recommend flipping these up before you press his legs together. Just get your nail under like this bit right here to do that. Otherwise, it's a lot harder. So, pro tip, and I won't charge you for it because I'm nice. Alrighty. So you got that. His wheels, you're going to swing like all the way around to the other side. All right. And then these panels, flip out this inner panel until it's forming like a 90 there. You're going to swing it in until it plugs in here to fill in the back of his lower legs. Same thing here. All right, it's tight. Unfold the feet. Spin his lower legs 180 where they're facing forward. And the last thing you do is you will spin this 180 and then fold it up, and you want these slots to plug in here on these little tabs. So make sure that's in there. That way you get his backpack nice and flush. All right, and this is Optimus's robot mode. And I just gotta say, it looks beautiful. It looks like a mini masterpiece. You have all of this really nice sculpted detail. You have the battle damage, which I know a lot of people don't like. I think it looks okay. I'm kind of indifferent to it. Can have it, cannot have it. And this guy's got a ton of poseability. So he has a ball joint that his head is connected on to his neck there. You got the swivel on the shoulders, which can also kind of swing back a little bit for a little bit extra poseability. Bicep swivel right there. Obviously regular elbow. His wrists have a full 180 degree swivel. Or sorry, 360 degree. Need to go back to math class apparently. These side panels on his shoulders where the smokestacks are also swing up to allow his arms to lift up higher, which is a really cool touch. Full waist swivel, hinge and swivel combo on the hips. Single bend at the knee, also swivel there. And then the ankles tilt as much as you realistically need them to. And yeah, he pretty much hits every bit of humanoid articulation you would need. This guy is really poseable. You can do a lot with him. A lot of people don't like his backpack. And again, I think it's just them trying to make this their definitive Optimus Prime. You know, they're trying to put masterpiece standards to a $30 figure, but you know, maybe that's just me being cynical. I don't mind the backpack. It looks fine. It could definitely be a lot worse. The fact that it's so flat and clean looking and, you know, isn't too out there, I think doesn't bother me. Plus, it's kind of necessary for him to work with the gimmick of this line, because as you know, all of the bigger toys are supposed to be compatible with weaponizers. And whereas the deluxes have a single 5mm hole in their back, the Voyagers so far, and I'm going to assume this is going to be a continuing trend, have two. So they can attach a little bit more. So, you know, if he didn't have a backpack, he wouldn't really have that anyway. But, you know, he's still got the same holes in the other places, shoulders, forearms, sides of his legs there. So he can do a lot with the other toys. I really love this detailing on his chest windows. They look really nice. One thing I like is that it's 2 layers of plastic. You have transparent plastic affixed to the regular red, so it's not just red paint over transparent plastic, which is nice. There's his chest hole, which a lot of people point out you can put the core, not the whole matrix, but just the core part of Power of the Primes Optimus in there. You have to really kind of wiggle it in there, and it's a tight fit, and because that matrix is painted, I'm not gonna demonstrate that. Like, I did it once to verify it works, but I'm not gonna push my luck. I don't want to damage it. But you can get it in there, and then it's kind of hard to get it back out without risking further damage. So just use your imagination. I'm not gonna do it. But yeah, this Prime just hits all of the cues that, you know, Generation 1 Optimus is supposed to have. All of the weird alien elements of his truck mode get pretty much hidden in this. You can't tell he's anything but just a guy that turns into an 80s semi-truck. So I think that's why people are going to see this as the new definitive toy, and I think that's why Hasbro and Takara left themselves open to do some minor remolding to make this a little more definitive down the road. But we'll see if I'm right on that. Alright, time for weapons. Optimus can obviously wield his ion blaster, which we can see right here. Pretty standard shape. This kind of extra blocky bit is a little different and honestly makes it look a bit goofy, I'm not gonna lie. This thing could do well to be a little more streamlined, but you know, it's got the classic back end of the gun right there that I think is probably the biggest visual cue for his ion blaster. His barrel is a 5mm hole, so it'll be compatible with all the different fire blast effects. He's got a 5mm hole in the top there too. And just go ahead and place in his fist. Fits just fine, not too tight, not too loose. So you don't have to worry about it flopping around or cracking his fist, so that's great. He's got that, and then the other weapon, the shield/axe. He can interact with it in a number of ways. The instructions will show you that you can plug it into the top of the blaster, like so. Which I guess the idea is that the handle looks like maybe a secondary gun barrel or something. This one looks a little goofy. I'm probably not ever going to use this configuration. The other more obvious use for this mode of the weapon is as a shield for Optimus to use. And you're supposed to just plug it in his forearm right there. And it becomes a pretty decent looking shield. Looks nice from certain angles. I think when you're looking at it dead on like that, it does appear to be a little too far off of his forearm. Kind of a lot of dead space going on there. I think they could have fixed that just by making this post a bit shorter. I don't think that would have caused any issues with attaching to his robot or truck mode, so I'm not sure why it's that long. Should have maybe brought it in a little bit closer, a couple millimeters or so. But it looks pretty decent. Really makes me think of that artwork of the Autobots all standing together with Optimus in the middle. And I really like that. This will probably be what I display him with. Just gives him a seasoned warrior look. But the shield's not your thing. This weapon does transform. Pretty simple transformation. This bit, you unpeg it and flip it all the way till it pegs back in this way. And then he has blades hiding inside this thing, which they have these convenient little tabs for you to kind of grab on with your fingernails. So you can flip that out. It's the back of the axe. And then flip that out. And comes a pretty cool looking axe. Nice shiny black weapon of death. And then you can just plug it in like that and he can wield it. And the weapon itself looks really cool and is another great way to display the character. Now, one thing people have pointed out about it, and I can actually agree with them, is that the way it gets held in his hand, it looks very awkward because he's holding this giant heavy weapon by like the very bottom of the base. So it's a very similar problem to the one that Power of the Prime's Wreck-Gar had, where due to the design of the weapon, they can only hold it all the way at the end of the handle there, which realistically wouldn't work. I mean, I get he's a robot and he's strong, but if he were hacking at Megatron, this thing would probably go flying out of his hands if he's holding it like that. So, meh. I get why it has to be that way because of this little post coming off to the side, but it would have been nice if there was a way around it. Maybe if these were two pieces and like disconnected, so you could, like, I don't know, slide his hand in here somewhere. Whatever. Minor hit, doesn't bother me too much. Now, one of the biggest complaints I hear about this toy is the size of him. He is admittedly definitely on the short end of the spectrum for Voyager class toys. Now, it's been said that the design team is using the old like Generation 1 character model size chart to determine how big these figures actually are. How accurate they're being to that exactly, I'm not totally sure. But apparently that's the reason that Optimus is short, so that he scales with the deluxes and the leader class figures like he's supposed to, according to character models. Now, normally I don't like small Optimus Prime figures, only because usually at that size they really fail to capture the detail and complexity required to make a good Optimus. You know, sacrifices are made because the parts are smaller, which is why, say, I prefer like Leader Revenge of the Fallen Optimus Prime to even the new Studio series. Despite them being years and years apart, I still feel like the Leader is just much more fleshed out and accurate and detailed. This guy, I don't think really has that problem. He looks like somebody took something that was at like a Leader scale or Masterpiece scale and just shrunk it down and still managed to keep all of the detail. I mean, when you look at the amount of sculpted detail on this guy, it's extremely impressive. He's got so much going on there. The only things I would really change about this toy, as far as, you know, increasing parts count, making it a little more complex, his little forearm kibble here, while not nearly as egregious as the classics Optimus Prime mold, I do wish there was a way it could maybe like fold in this way across the back just to be a little less in the way. And then the backpack, if they could have found a way to have it maybe fold up a little more, not be quite as big and just a, you know, giant square on his back, that would have been cool and maybe something they could have done at a larger size class. But I don't think this figure sacrificed too much to stay in scale with the other toys. But for the more skeptical of you out there, I'm going to go ahead and compare him to a couple different figures, just so you can see where he really stands. All right, here he is with Combiner Wars Optimus Prime, and you can see he is significantly shorter than this mold. In fact, he's like almost a head shorter. Now, some of that is due to the really weird ratcheting with this toy. If anyone's familiar with him, you know that his leg ratchets are kind of messed up. He doesn't achieve that natural stance that his feet are molded for. It's either too close together or too far apart. It was fixed with later use of the mold, but this one is still stuck with that. They never fixed it, at least on the Hasbro side. But yeah, not making excuses. He's still taller. He just would appear a little bit less so if he was standing the way he's supposed to. Here he is with Titan's Return Optimus Prime, who he's actually slightly taller than if you're not counting the big shoulder pylons. But like head to head, he's got him by, maybe 2 millimeters or so. So he is bigger than this guy. Here he is paired against the other Voyager in this toy line and his eternal rival, Megatron. And interestingly, he's taller than Megatron is. And honestly, that's really disappointing. And not disappointing in the Optimus toy, disappointing in the Megatron toy, because Megatron, I think, generally agreed upon, is always slightly taller than Optimus Prime, just to have that little extra bit of imposing stature, because he's this big war machine. So, yeah, I don't know how that happened, because if they're going off of these size charts and everything, I imagine Megatron should be, at the very least, the same height as Optimus, but you can see here, clearly not the case. So that actually brings Megatron down a few pegs in my book, which is a shame, because he is such an interesting toy. And honestly, having these two together and, comparing them, I reviewed Megatron first because I got him first. And seeing him now, I'm kind of reevaluating my stance on him. He's still a fantastic toy, and I still, probably the best chug Megatron that we've ever gotten. But yeah, he just seems not as great in comparison. I feel like they put a little more love into the Optimus Prime toy than they did the Megatron one. I don't know, he doesn't feel quite as intricately engineered as the Optimus one does. He seems more basic looking, I guess. But maybe I'm wrong on that one. What do you think? Now for a few fun comparisons. This is him against the Leader Class Optimus from the previous toy line. And in the robot modes, they're both really good. The new Optimus definitely has more accuracy to the original character model than the Power of the Primes one does. He has a little bit more artistic license going on there. He's got the ever unpopular gray fist that people to this day complain about. But he's still really good. And if you are determined to have a Leader Optimus, I would still, this is probably the way to go for G1. But this new Voyager definitely feels more solidly built. He doesn't have as many hollow parts or anything. So, he does feel like they really are stretching the budget a little better with him. And last but certainly not least, got to compare him to what is, for now, the ultimate Optimus Prime toy, MP10 from the Masterpiece line, just to see how well he really stacks up to a toy that's, so intricate, so expensive. And you can see, all of the major details are there. There are some minor differences. This Optimus doesn't have the little yellow arrow details on the forearms, but those are actually not accurate to the animation model, so whether or not it's a bad thing, couldn't say. He is also missing like I don't even know what these are, pistons, tanks. I'm sure somebody more familiar with trucks could tell me, but that detail is something he lacks. And the head sculpt, you can see, while MP10's isn't perfect, his is a little more toy-based than cartoon-based. So depending on your preferences, your notion of how well he stacks up to this guy is going to be a little different, depending on whether you prefer toon accuracy or toy accuracy. One thing that always bothered me about MP10, I always felt like his grill abs were too long. Even though they might be more accurate, they just always looked a little off to me. I kind of prefer the proportions of this guy just as, a figure and a character himself. But yeah, he definitely serves as a more compact, more budget-friendly version of our current King of the Ring until, the new one comes and makes everyone forget about poor MP10. Now, there is one more comparison I wanted to do, but regrettably cannot. And sadly, it's probably the one people most wanted to see is Classics Optimus Prime. To see how he stacks up against, the former king of the Chug line. I have the toy, but he's packed away right now and honestly, I'm not going to go and unpack everything to get them out. Sorry, guys. But I can tell you, based on seeing pictures from other people, that Classics and Siege Optimus are almost the exact same height. Like, extremely, extremely close. More so than any other figures. So you don't have to worry about that. He has not shrunk compared to that guy. He is exact same size there. Though his alt mode is significantly smaller. I'll give Classics that. His truck mode's a bit bulkier than Siege Optimus's. Alright, and I think that pretty much concludes our look at Siege Voyager class Optimus Prime. This toy, I think I recommend more highly than any other toy I've ever reviewed. It's just so incredibly well done. The transformation is almost like masterpiece level. The aesthetics in both the truck mode, the robot mode are phenomenal. Articulation is as good as it can possibly get. There isn't a single thing I don't like about this figure. I don't have any like weird tolerance issues, no loose or overly tight joints. Everything is like the perfect amount of friction on him. And I haven't really heard anyone else complain about any sort of tolerance issues either. So I'm guessing that's pretty much a universal standard, which is great. Yeah, I know he's a little hard to find right now. I managed to get mine off of Hasbro Toy Shop during a short time that it was available. These should start appearing in stores. I mean, they are appearing very slowly already, but should start seeing a little more widespread availability over the course of this month. If you see this thing, get it. It's so good. I couldn't be happier with it. I am curious to see if my prediction about them modifying this mold to become an Earth-based truck mode is correct. I just have a strong feeling about that. But yeah, I don't normally rate figures on here with like a number system or anything, but if I did, this guy's 10 out of 10. Does everything I would want a Voyager-sized Optimus Prime to do. Looks great. Should easily replace the Classics mold as your definitive Prime. And I just can't sing its praises enough. I could go on and gush about it all night, but I think you all get the picture. He is a must-buy. So, get out there, start hunting him down. Let Hasbro know you really like this guy. Let them know they did everything right with this toy. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this look at Optimus Prime. If you did like it, go ahead, give it a thumbs up. I'd also love to hear your input on the toy and the review in the comments section. If you want to see more reviews like this one or any of my other Transformers-related videos, make sure to hit the subscribe button and click the notification bell so you get a heads up whenever I put out a new video. Thanks again for sitting down and watching this. And with all that said, I will see you all next time.